Now, back to Miller on Sports, the show where everyone feels like rushing the field. Everything else is just talk. Brought to you by the law offices of Ron Scholes.
You can find Miller on Sports on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube at Miller on Sports. And for any interviews, check it out at YouTube, Miller on Sports. I usually post them right on Miller on Sports on Facebook. That's a lot of Miller on Sports right there. But also you can check out my interview yesterday with Neil Langto, the author of Campy, The Two Lives of Roy Campanella. I'll have that up later this afternoon at Miller on Sports on Facebook. And if you ever have a question, shoot me at milleronsports@gmail.com. Send an email. I'll reply quite quickly. And you can find us on the FM 107.7 FM downtown, 100.3 FM in Orange Park and Fleming Island. Our guest today, Steve Siebold. He is the author of the internationally acclaimed 177 Mental Toughness Secrets of the World Class. He's made a career out of mental toughness training. The last 26 years, he's dedicated to working with athletes, entrepreneurs, to help them overcome any mental obstacles and reach their peak performance. Steve, I'm glad you could join us this afternoon. How are you?
Hey, good, thanks. I appreciate you inviting me.
Oh, absolutely. And I know we just have to touch on Tiger Woods. Yesterday, deciding not to play in the British Open. Most people call it the Open. But I wanted to ask you, because you've worked with so many athletes over nearly 25, 26 years. You've just been around it for so long. How does a top-level athlete like Tiger Woods, how do you stay upbeat and positive when you have an injury that keeps you out for just about half the year?
Well, I think there's a lot more going on with Tiger than physical injury. I think we all know that. It's I think he's in a state of mind we refer to as emotional overwhelm with all these crazy things going on in his life, and it's something he was not really I think prepared for and has never dealt with it in the past. And I think that's what's caused any kind of physical break or been a contributor to the cause of any physical breakdown. So I think that's more of the problem than his physical ailments.
And it's just so weird, Steve, to see Tiger Woods where he is right now, 17th in the world rankings. You think about 17th, you think maybe Hunter Mahan. You don't think Tiger Woods. And then he hasn't won a major since the 2008 U.S. Open. And you've said before that he's a comeback artist. Now, how does he do that? How does he become that comeback artist?
Well, he's got to recapture the consciousness that made him great. And obviously it's there. It's just a matter of him getting a hold of himself or someone helping him or something to get him back. I mean, I don't think it's any coincidence the guy hasn't won a tournament since all the scandal came out, and so he's got to get it. I think mostly the solution to emotional overwhelm when there's all this emotion going on in your mind is what they call compartmentalization. Very simply put, to be able to compartmentalize different actions, golf swings, whatever it is, and concentrate on one thing at a time as opposed to many things at a time. I think that's the solution to Tiger's problem.
Now, with this emotional overwhelm, does it help to kind of talk to people or maybe have somebody to have a shoulder to cry on? What works best?
Well, it's individual. It's to be so easy just to just make a sweeping comment about that, but it really I found it to be really individual, and someone at Tiger's level. And at Tiger's, not only of technical, athletic proficiency, but also his level of fame is kind of unprecedented in golf. And I mean, he's obviously one of the most famous people in the entire world and most recognized and before most respected. And I think that's probably, if I was to work with him, that's what I would go with. And I hope someone that eventually does get to him, because I think his biggest problem is probably, he went from being this most admired person that every parent wants their kid to be like to something much lower than that in the minds of a lot of people, and I think mostly in the mind of Tiger. I think he feels that. I'm guessing. I mean, I don't know for sure, but I think that's a real big one of his real big problems right now.
Oh, yeah, going from a super celebrity going to Japan and doing heat rub cream commercials, that's a huge fall off, but maybe money-wise, it's worked so far for Tiger Woods. And Steve, I wanted to ask you also, because last week we heard from Ian Poulter saying that Tiger Woods should take the rest of the 2011 season off, just call it quits, British Open, PGA Championship, just forget about it, rest up mentally, emotionally, physically, whatever. Do you agree with Ian Poulter that Tiger should take the rest of the year off?
I do. I don't think he's ready. Again, physically it's a different thing, but mentally he's obviously not ready. I think that's really good advice, and not just to take the time off, But to get some help from someone who can really help him at that level. I mean, maybe someone like a Jack Nicklaus or someone who's been, somewhat at that level where he can relate to him, or maybe a sports psychologist, or maybe a team of people, which he may have now, I don't know, but something to make a difference so he can come back next year, like the old Tiger we all know and love.
Do you think it's hurt him quite a bit? Because his relationship with the media, I'd say, is okay, maybe a little below average, in the fact that he's always been a little bit snippy. He's had this air of, yes, I'm Tiger Woods, and I will answer any question the way I want to. Do you think that's hurt him over the last 2.5 years?
Maybe a little bit, but you can almost not blame the guy. I mean, I think the great athletes at the Woods level, they're so rare, for one thing. I don't think most people really realize how great an athlete a guy like Tiger Woods really is. And this is not just a great athlete. This is a phenomenal freak of nature, is what we're really dealing with. I mean, and so, and not that he should be snippy because of it, but I think there's a fine line between confidence and arrogance. And, when I was coaching professional athletes, I take a little bit of that arrogance any day of the week, and I think some of that comes out with the media. And the media can really be very irritating to an athlete, too. They push things pretty far, so I would take Tiger's side a little bit on that one.
Oh, I will take that as a compliment, Steve. I really much appreciate that. We can be a little annoying from time to time. Steve Siebold, he joins us right here on Miller on Sports, the author of the internationally acclaimed 177 Mental Toughness Secrets of the World Class. You can find it on Amazon and in your local bookstores. Steve, you made a career out of this mental toughness training. You 26 years, professional athletes. Have you ever encountered a case somewhat similar to Tiger Woods and what has gone on over the last few years now?
Yes, I have, but not at that level. Not with one of the most famous people, literally, in the whole world. I think that just takes it to a whole nother level. I think that might be the problem, is that he probably is having, if he's looking for help, he's probably having a hard time finding it, because it's almost unprecedented. I mean, really, who can really relate? Who's really ever walked in Tiger Woods' shoes in the sense of his fame and his success and all those things in the world of golf? It would be so tough to relate to someone. He probably feels that, and I think that's one of the things that's probably really holding him back. I think he's going to have some outside help to make this work. If he does need that, I hope he gets it, because, boy, I'd sure like to see the guy back. He's just what a pleasure just to watch him hit a golf ball.
Oh, I definitely agree. And I've covered many athletes from all over, many sports, Steve, and I was wondering about this because which athletes do you feel do a little bit better in terms of their sport or in the long term with their career? Are they the ones that leave everything on the playing field, or the ones that kind of bring it home and dissect it a little bit later and bring it into the household?
I think it's a good question. I don't know the answer to that. I think that I think it's based on the personalities. I mean, I look to a guy like think of a guy right off the bat like Jimmy Connors, the great tennis champion who was so incredibly intense, and when he left the game, he just left the game, and I don't think anyone's got his phone number. I mean, he just walked away, and left it all on the field, as you said. And I think that's probably worked for him. And then you have other athletes that just can't leave because they become announcers or whatnot, because they stay involved in the game because they just love it so much. So Magic Johnson's a great example of someone who leveraged it and is so successful, taking what he learned on the basketball court into business, and what a great success he's been.
And so many times, Steve, we hear about golf being such a mental game. The 6 inches between your ears, that's where the game is won and lost. Sunday afternoons, final pairings of a major, it's all mental. Well, how much really is it mental? There's got to be more than just mental. It's got to be something else, right?
Oh, no question. I mean, I think that it's been overplayed a lot, and even when I was coming up in sports, people who are always saying, well, it's not, tennis or whatever sport is a 90% mental. Well, that's probably a little bit of an overreach. It's probably not. You have to have the talent, obviously. Otherwise, it doesn't matter how mentally tough you are, you're not going to win. But I think when it comes down to competing against someone of equal ability, then the person who's more mentally tough, who which basically means to me someone who can really control their thoughts and emotions, especially in a pressure situation, they're probably going to have an advantage long term. They're going to win more often if they're facing someone who's of equal physical ability. And I think that's where it really makes the difference.
Real quick, Steve, I know my listeners, they're kind of dreading the rest of this week. It is Wednesday, but we still got 2 more days left before the weekend. Can you give my listeners one mental toughness secret going into Thursday?
Well, I think the key to the whole thing is knowing what you want. I don't think most people do. At least even the companies I work with, mostly employees. I work with thousands and thousands of them every year all over the world, and most people don't really know what they want. So I think if you really detail what you want, put it on paper, and really think a lot about it, I think that really gets you up in the morning and keeps you focused and moving forward toward really your goals in life.
All right, well, Steve, I just wrote down on a sheet of paper that I want a cheeseburger. So I'm going to get that going into Wednesday and tomorrow. All right.
Okay. Make it a double.
A double. There you go, Steve. You're my best friend right now. A double cheeseburger for Miller on Sports. Steve Siebold, the author of 177 Mental Toughness Secrets of the World Class. It's in bookstores. It's on Amazon. Find it now. Steve, it was a pleasure. Really enjoyed it, and I know we'll talk very, very soon.
Hey, thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
All right. Steve Siebold. He's made a career out of this mental toughness training. The guy knows his stuff. He really does. That was a pleasure. Plus, he's just right down the road in Boynton Beach, Florida. So, he's a Florida guy. All right, we got to like those Florida guys. But 26 years helping out athletes, entrepreneurs, and many, many large businesses. And he's a top-ranked tennis player. That's pretty cool. But I might be going after that double cheeseburger. Although I think I need to cut back maybe just a little bit. I'm getting a little worrisome about going to the beach and taking my shirt off. But Steve Siebold joining Miller on Sports. So much fun. Florida News Network coming up next. You're listening to Miller on Sports.
Your new home for the best conservative talk radio in Jacksonville.
Talk Radio 600.
WBOB. Online 600WBOB.com.
Here's